When you take a look at today's shoe, the Nike Air Max 90 Cork Coconuts, and then compare it to yesterday's shoe, the Nike Air Max 90 Cork Obsidians, it's easy to think they've just flipped out that blue from yesterday back to today's shoe, and it's that kind of sail or tan upper on there, but it's more than that. There's actually more changes between the two shoes, so they are kind of sister shoes, but there's also some differences, especially in terms of where the placement of the cork comes, and a little change up in the way the translucence works on the shoe, because those Obsidians had some pretty neat places where it was translucent or semi-translucent, but today most of those are gone when we take it to the coconut side of things. But there is a really neat little line that draws between those Obsidians and these coconuts today, so it's an interesting sort of mix up between a sister pair of shoes where there's commonality and then some unique positions and unique parts to the shoes, and we're going to go through all of that today as we take a close-up look at the upcoming release of the Nike Air Max 90 Cork Coconut. This is the Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Bara 23 Sneaker Channel です。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And in the spotlight today is, like I said, that coconut, variant on this pack. It's just two pairs. There's the yesterday's Obsidians and these coconuts. I haven't seen any more out there, and they are tied to that cork. It's the cork theme, and we can have a look up at the tongues on today's shoe and see the image up there of the cork, and then beside it says figure 5 or fig 5 for short. And I already did fig 1, 2, and 3. And what we're talking about is an Air Force 1 and a Blazer, which I can't remember what figure 1 was. Same for figure 2, Air Force 1 and Blazer. And then figure 3, I remember, was the pomegranates, again, Air Force 1 and Blazer. So that was a very sort of common thing. It was almost like a pack of 6 sneakers. And then here we are about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, and we've got these Air Max 90s. So we've lost that Air Force 1, we've lost that Blazer thing, but we're still going on with that figure sort of 5 now. I said in yesterday's video when I talked about the Obsidians that I don't know what happened with figure 4. I mean, I could probably find out very quickly. Just type in, Nike Air figure 4 or something like that, and I'm sure it would churn it out for me. But easier than that is having somebody tell me in the comments down below. So if you know what the figure 4s were in terms of silhouette, but also in terms of what plant they were celebrating, like those pomegranates for figure 3, and like today it's the cork for figure 5. So it'd be kind of cool to finish that, and also to know if there's a figure 6 out there and something coming down the line. So anyway, the first 3 figures 1 through 3, Blazers and Air Force 1s, and here we are, figure 5, and it's 2 Air Max 90s. It's not 2 different silhouettes, it's the same silhouette. And basically what they've done is they've taken the Obsidian blue out of yesterday's shoe and flipped it out for a kind of sail or tan feel on the upper. But there are 2 other really important changes between yesterday's shoe and today's shoe. So we'll start with that, then we'll get into the cork detailing on these guys, and then we'll get into the materials and finish off the shoe with that. So first things first, up onto the laces up there, the classic Air Max 90 structure to the laces, high and low on the lacing system. There's 2 rubberized eyelet areas, kind of triangular in shape. And yesterday's shoe, hopefully I can flip back to those Obsidians, and you can see high and low on the lacing system, those 2 distinctive Air Max 90 eyelet panels were done in cork yesterday. Well, I shouldn't say cork because we talked about it yesterday. There was a fade from cork on the swoosh through to sort of semi-cork and translucent cork and rubberized cork and stuff like that. But you can see that on those Obsidians from yesterday, but flipping it out to today, totally gone. It kind of surprised me, to be honest. I was expecting there to be that commonality between the 2, the brown kind of wood feel up on the laces from yesterday's shoe, not carried through onto today's shoe. And then if we go down, quickly stop at the swoosh and have a look at the very cork swoosh. The thing we talked about yesterday again was that this is where the cork is in its fullest on the swoosh on the side of these guys. We'll get to the heels in a minute and the outsole in a minute, which also has a sort of hint to the natural wood feel, but it doesn't have that direct sort of in-your-face corkness about it like the swoosh does here. So it's good to stop on that, but then we keep on going past that, and then below the swoosh you have that branding window, which which comes as standard on the side of Air Max 90s. And again, flipping it back to yesterday's shoe, the Obsidian, you can see the branding window on there, kept that wood feel going. And then back to today's coconut shoe, you can see that it's actually the same as the eyelets above, and standard sort of rubberized branding on there. We've lost that whole wood feel. So they're the two major losses in the shoe, up on the lacing system where the eyelets are in front and back, they're high and low there, and then down onto that window below the swoosh. Those are the major changes, and the things that are staying the same, we've already looked at the Cork Swoosh. Let's flip it out and have a look at the back of these guys today, and you can see the branding panel on the back in that classic standard Air Max 90 style, but with a wood feel to it. So you've got the browns in there, but still, like I said, it's not cork. It might be cork as in wood or the plant that the cork comes from, but not what we would understand cork to be, the cork that you get, you know, in the top of a wine bottle. So that on the back of these guys, a light kind of wood feel to it, and the Nike branding in there is not contrasting with that wood feel. It's not in, say, blue or brown or something like that. It's this exact same wood feel as the branding panel around it. And then flip these guys upside down, have a look at the outsole, and you can see front to back, top to toe, the whole outsole is all about that wood feel again. Now, there isn't any translucence to look at, and I can't remember exactly where the translucence came in yesterday's Obsidians. I'm not sure if the outsole did or didn't have translucence on it, but it definitely doesn't on these guys. But some of the wooden parts, I think especially those eyelets and that window panel on the side, had a sort of semi-translucent feel to it. I've got a feeling the outsole did too, but on these guys that's all gone. It's just solid wood feel. Another change that's very close to the outsole is the midsole. Yesterday's midsole was all white except for the arrowhead around the air unit, which had a sort of light grey feel to it, but today they've gone away with that, and it's that consistent colour white running through the whole midsole, including that air unit on there and the sort of arrowhead that wraps around it. And I have to say I prefer it this way on these shoes. I think sometimes you can play with it. If the upper has a lot of contrast between two different colours, say red and blue, and then the midsole is white with one of those colours, blue or red, around the arrowhead, that's fine. But in the case of today's shoe, it's a very sleek shoe. Even the hits of cork on it are very similar to the actual colour of the upper. So then having the midsole all in white, including the air unit around, the arrowhead around the air unit, I think it kind of makes sense. It looks pretty good on the shoe. Now, we've already been up and I had a look at the figure on the tongue, and I'll just go up and look at that, but also take in the insole, because that was one of the things about yesterday's shoe and today's shoe was the wildness of the insole on there. It kind of surprised me to see the sort of popping violent green or almost volt yellow going on the insole, because it doesn't match the rest of the shoe at all. But in the case of today's shoe, that's not what's interesting to me about this look from above on them. What's interesting to me is the lining is clearly an obsidian blue that's taken from yesterday's shoe. You can see that connection between the colorway of yesterday's shoe and today's shoe in the lining, so it's kind of a neat little detail on there. And then the last thing to do is to go down to the toe box. I've got a fairly good shot of that here to give you an idea of the materials used in these guys. We talked about that nylon mesh feel in yesterday's shoe and how that gave a denim feel to it with that deep blue and the nylon. And then today you can see it is not leathers making up the upper of this shoe. It is the same sort of mesh and nylon feel. And because of the sail or tan upper, it's harder to see, but take my word for it, and hopefully the green screen can give you this as well, that the stitching, just like yesterday, is also in that kind of tan or light brown colour. And the light brown on blue yesterday definitely gave it a denim feel, whereas today the light brown on sail gives it a whole different feel, a whole different sort of vibe to the shoe. Very sleek shoe today. Yesterday's shoe was a bit more sort of, I don't know what you'd call it. I want to say hard, but it's not hard, but it's a bit more kind of substance to it, whereas today's shoe is all about the sort of sleek smoothness of it. But it's a great looking shoe and a great pack of two shoes, a really nice Air Max 90s. Last year celebrated the 30th anniversary year, so 31 years of Air Max 90s, and they're still churning their absolutely classic colorways in a unique and brilliant silhouette that hasn't changed in the 31 years since it first came out in 1990. Still an absolutely epic shoe, and this pack is an epic pack, so I definitely say yes to both yesterday's Obsidians and today's coconuts. And with that being said, it's time to wrap this one up. I think June the 15th is the drop date if anybody's interested out there. And then just wrapping up this video, so finishing up another one, keeping the daily content coming every single day. Haven't missed a day for like 910 days in a row, not even holidays, not even weekends, churning out that daily content for you guys out there. And because I do that, I get to say the same thing at the end of every single video, which is that I do this every single day. And that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.